Life is not about marks, it's about making a mark. These are the words of our guest today. First, an under-19 cricketer, then an electrical engineering graduate from NIT Kurukshetra, an HCS and IAS officer for 25 years, and now a motivational speaker and a best-selling author. gnoTalks 2024 is privileged to have Mr. Vivek Atray.
Thank you so much. One minor correction, I'm an electronics engineer, but we go with the flow.
Okay.
Yes.
So we are really glad, and it's a matter of great honor for us to have you here.
Thank you.
So starting with the first question of the interview, so seeing your journey in such diverse fields, how has your life been during and after the civil services?
So during the civil services, it was hectic, it was challenging, it was absorbing, it was ups and downs were there. But after the civil services, it's been quite exciting, quite not as challenging, but more giving back, feeling happy, going and appearing on interviews and shows and talks and travel. And so I guess the civil services career helps now in doing what I do now, and that IAS tag remains, so it's helpful. But the civil services life was also satisfying and fulfilling. I don't say that it was difficult, it was challenging. I could have continued for another 11 years, but I resigned. And you can ask me later why I resigned if you want. Okay.
So that's a very inspiring journey.
Thank you.
It is very important to understand when to exit. We noticed that you kept changing your styles of living until you found satisfaction. Many people get stuck in this cycle of hope. So how can one recognize the right time to depart?
Yeah, so there is a saying in my public speaking workshops, and it's not my quote, but it's a quote. Always finish speaking before the people have finished listening, right? Because their span of attention may go here and there, you go on speaking. So you should know when to exit, when to depart, when to stop. Similarly, when Kapil Dev retired, people were saying, why isn't he retiring? Long ago. He took 431 wickets, I think. So people were saying he should retire. But when Gavaskar retired much before that, when I was a schoolboy, he retired early. And people say, why has he retired? So it's always better to go out when people are not expecting it. Go out before they become bored of you or you become bored of that career. So I think timing is of the essence. It's important. But I also think that you should enjoy what you're doing. So I think I started enjoying my public speaking more during service also. I was on the stage, I was called, had some TEDx talks in service, then I had some more outside. So then I decided that I'm enjoying this more. So I decided to exit.
So that was a great concept. In the Living a Simple Life in a Superb Way TEDx, you mentioned about the 6 C's, which were courage, character, creativity, cheerfulness, calmness, and compassion. So, sir, how have these 6 C's helped you to live a simple life in a superb way?
That's so nice. A good question, and you remembered all the C's, and now I've added one, which is contentment, which is gratefulness, which is santushti, which means we are thankful for what we have. Plus, I've added a skill, which is communication, because 7 qualities and 1 skill, they make 8 C's. So as I learn, I also go along adding C's, right? So maybe by the time we meet next time, I'll have 12 C's, right? But I think all these are inherently present in everyone. You, I, we have these qualities. Some have more courage, some have less courage. There's no one without any courage in the world. And there's no one without any fear in the world. So the glass cannot be totally full, it can be totally empty. But here it's somewhere midway. So somebody may be more calm, the other may be more restless but courageous. So we have varying quantities of these qualities. So I think if we are calmer, if we are content, if we are cheerful, then we live a happier life. And ultimately the goal of life is not money or power or fame. And I'll say this in our talk today also. It's not money or power or fame. It is contentment, it is peace within. And we realize these things a little later. When we are trying to get into a career, we want to get into a good job, a good placement, a good life ahead, we are driving ourselves hard, and what matters to us is different from what matters later in life. But some people realize it early, some people realize it never, so people differ also. So I think living a simple and superb life basically depends on winning the inner battle of life. You got a book of Ikigai out here, so this is something which is to be followed, and you win the battle of life. It says the Japanese secret to a long and happy life, so that's what you're talking about.
Sir, I'm sure these eight C's will bring a great change.
Thank you. Change is also C.
Yeah. In one of your book launches, you mentioned that the true meaning of success is somewhere lost in the quagmire of expectations and desires that all human beings experience. So don't you think these hopes and aspirations might bring a change as well?
Yeah, so one has to be aspirational, but also content. So if I feel that I'm not doing enough, I'm not where I should be, I'll feel frustrated with my life, I'll feel angry with my life, I'll feel discontented. And then I want to do more and more and more and better. Rather than that, a position of being contented with what you have and then wanting to do more and better is better. So if I'm an angry kind of person with my life, that I'm not happy with myself, so I want to hit the stars, it won't work. So I have to be grateful for what I have, and then I want to get into. So the quagmire which is bothering us is the quagmire of expectation, pressure and competition, and that could be from the family, it could be from peer pressure, it could be from ourselves. And today we compare ourselves with others, so the expectations keep increasing. So and so has this and that and likes and followers and comforts, and I don't have that, so I'm feeling bad about it. So that is not the way to live. You have to live your own life. Ultimately, there is no comparison with others which matters. What matters is the comparison with what you were and what you are today. Have you become a better person? So it's a slightly philosophical way of thinking, but success is not about money. You need to be comfortable. You need to be comfortable enough with money to be able to go to higher things. If you are struggling for your bread or your roti or whatever it is, then you can't think of philosophy and spirituality and happiness. So you have to be comfortable. You have to aspire for a good job, a good career. But after that, the greed factor should not come. Lust should not come. I want to do more and more and more and more. No. You have to challenge your mind rather than challenging your finances and your promotions and your positions. These are not possessions, and positions are very materialistic things.
Yes, sir. Also, in one of your interviews, you mentioned that Kriya Yoga is a scientific path of meditation that connects us to God. But in today's fast-paced world, maintaining focus can be challenging and it might be difficult as well. So how has adopting Kriya Yoga changed your life, and was it difficult for you to embrace that?
So the question is of spirituality. The question is not specifically of Kriya Yoga, which I'll come to. So we are a composition of body, mind and soul. We are not only body and mind. In today's world, we tend to look after our body. We tend to look after the mind a little bit, but we keep driving it harder and harder, and we don't sleep enough. We are too much on reels and social media, etc., etc. So the mind is suffering actually. And the soul is neglected. The soul is what we really are. And any scripture of the world, any religion you follow, will tell you the same. And that battle within has to be won. So if we nurture the soul, if we meditate, if we pray, if we connect with the Lord, if we follow our religion and yet go higher into meditation and deep practices, I think we become better off. And so Kriya Yoga is one way of doing it. I follow that. And Kriya Yoga is a scientific path. It is a path where we follow a certain regime of techniques, certain ways of concentrating on God and meditation. And then we become more scientifically oriented towards spirituality. So it's not like I close my eyes and I try to think of God. It won't work, Because suddenly pizza will come. Suddenly Virat Kohli will come. Alia Bhatt will come. Somebody will come in your mind. Or maybe Anushka. So the thing is that we have to get out of that mindset and focus on a meditation path which will lead us to peace. If you are peaceful within, you will do better in life. If you are restless and disturbed, you won't do better in life. So your decision making will become better. Your meditation will help you in your career also. There's a Harvard study which says CEOs who meditate, they are better CEOs, they're better off, they are doing better. So if you become spiritual, you are helped in your career, your material life, your relationships, your understanding of others, your success comes better. So if you don't concentrate on spirituality, only running after material success, then you won't get that also, and you won't get inner peace also. So you realize this and you start. At least you strive. I can't say that I won all the battles of life. I'm still a human being who's trying. And if you're human, you're not perfect, but you aspire to be better.
Indeed, sir. That's very thoughtful.
Thank you.
You've been a part of the Suvichar think tank, which provides insight on the societal problems. So how can we enhance the effectiveness of implementing these new ideas, considering the amount of friction that comes along while adoption of innovation in our society?
Yeah, so you're right. So I was part of the government for a long time, and innovation is always first, there's a very tough word, it's balked at. Then when people look at you askance, what is this guy talking about? And then you try to change the way things are done. I was in IT. I was a young director IT. I was maybe 30 years old, 32 maybe. And I was trying to bring a change, and it was difficult. People were not accepting it. And Suvichar, the think tank, General VP Malik, former Army Chief, is the chairman. I am the coordinator. So we have very well-placed individuals, including a Padma Shri in our group. So the thing is that implementation of whatever ideas we give is, as you rightly said, difficult. But that doesn't mean we stop ideating. So somewhere something will happen which is as per a good idea or innovative idea or good suggestion. So think tanks like Suvichar, they can continue to think, they can continue to advise, and they can continue to implement in their own lives if something like that is there. And you can try to become role models. So if I am a role model or you're a role model, we can change society better than trying to change things. People, if they work energetically, because your suggestions, your life, your recommendations are of a high level and they appreciate them, then they will become better, then they'll be implementing them better and easier. You can't force people to do anything. Even in the government you can't, and think tanks certainly can't. You can only inspire them, or you can wow them by the way you have thought of something, a solution. So I think that's what works.
Yes, sir. If we take steps as an individual, that will bring a great impact in the society.
Yes.
Also, you've worked in the field of technology, like establishing Chandigarh IT Park and spearheading the acclaimed eSampark project. But in India, there is a large section of population which is not digitally literate. So how can we ensure that they also get the benefit of all these technological solutions?
Yeah, so I was working in IT from 2000 to 2006 when the digital divide was even more wide. There was hardly anyone using the digital platforms. But we started these eSampark and the IT Park. The eSampark project is an e-governance project where we set up these contact centers where people will go and they will get their work done. Now apps and bandwidth is better. You just don't have to think about it. You're using Google Pay, etc., etc. So we are doing it. But that was the baby steps, initial steps. And the digital divide is still there, but it's reduced. Yet there are people who cannot use their own digital devices, or they don't have digital devices. An example is I was volunteering at a spiritual camp of Kriya Yoga, of YSS, which I follow, Yogada Satsang Society, and where I was volunteering, and there was a bookstore. And there were devotees coming of all ages. And some elderly devotees, they wanted to buy a book, but they couldn't Google Pay, and they wanted to buy an e-book. But they couldn't use their, the OTP of whatever they were using as a banking function was coming to the grandson who is in Amritsar. And we are in Ranchi. So, I mean, the digital divide is starting there. The boy is busy in Amritsar. You can't call him up, OTP batao. He's in his job. So, the digital divide means that society is taking time to adapt. But we have to take those steps. And technology has brought in partial transparency, partial efficiency, partial, automation has taken place. So, we used to say in government, we can't have a paperless government. But we can have a less paper government, which we have now. So we should try for that. So I think by and by society will become more technology driven, which is happy as well as sad. So if it means that we won't talk to each other like this, then and there's no water or coffee on the table, then what is the point? Then human interactions will stop. So you have to draw a line in technology adoption also. So while convenience has increased, life may not be the same. So human conversations have to keep on going on. This is a topic I can talk on endlessly, but we go to the next one.
Surely, sir. During your tenure as a Deputy Commissioner in Panchkula, you launched a project called Aadar Samman, which was for the welfare of the senior citizens of society. So what motivated you to take such an initiative, considering it's not typically within the sphere of duties for a normal civil servant?
Yeah, it's not. So in your tenure as DC anywhere, an IAS officer or IPS officer as SSP or in any other post, you should try and do something which is contributing to the welfare of society, which is away from the norm. So I feel that the elderly people in India are slowly losing attention of the rest of society. People are so busy that they don't spend time with the elderly. They don't listen to their stories, which they should, and they just want to talk and spend time with someone. And in North India, unfortunately, it is a bit more. And I noticed in Haryana, Punjab, Chandigarh, that Delhi also, although I was posted in Panchkula, which is in Haryana, but many families were not really giving the elderly enough time. And they were suffering from various things. So, Aadar Samman meant respect for them. If they come to a government office, they should be given the priority. You can make out somebody's elderly, even if he doesn't show you the senior citizen card. You help that person, you fill up the form with him, you or her, you help them by giving them a cup of tea. So, we started that in the government offices. And banks also started following suit. All the district offices started copying us or following us. And just respect, that's what they want. People want respect. Everybody doesn't want money only. And if you have enough to eat, then you want respect. So that is what it is about.
So that was very overwhelming and inspiring.
Thank you.
So moving on to the next question. So you majorly speak on very pragmatic, mature and philosophical topics. But in one of your TEDx called Read a Book, Write a Book, you said that your favorite book is The Wishing Chair, which is a complete fiction. So, sir, how do you balance your enigmatic personality along with your love for fiction?
I think fiction is fantastic. I have written 2 novels myself, and though I'm now graduating to motivational books like Ikigai, but the thing is that I've written 2 motivational books and 2 novels. So the thing is, fiction helps you to draw a balance. So if you read imaginative stories, you watch a movie, you come back to reality a better person, in my view. So comic fiction, mysteries or drama or whatever, you can read love stories. You must read more in that TEDx talk I'm talking about reading, so that you can actually become a more knowledgeable person. We are at gnoTalks, which is about knowledge. You can become a more practical person in terms of understanding others. And the imagination part of human beings is limited today. We need to imagine more. Nature can give us so many stories. And I was going around your campus here in MNNIT, and it was, I think, beautiful. Some of the trees, you just sit and watch the tree, and you can write poetry, you can write fiction. Of course, when I was an IAS officer, I wasn't thinking like that much, because the chief secretary would call me for a meeting, Kaam karo. But then in the meeting also, I would think of my next writing. So it's okay. But coming back to this, I think reading and writing will give society more calmness, more stability, more creativity, more happiness. So reading is very important.
Surely, sir. So, as an advisor in Crew, which indulges in creative intelligence via project-based learning, so in your opinion, how can we address the lack of practical education and overemphasis on theory in the Indian education system?
Yeah, so this has been a bane, it's been a problem. And people are, earlier times it was only the rote system. Now, certain social emotional learning, creativity classes have come into schools, but there are many schools where still it's rote learning. And if you express yourself differently in the exam, you don't get marks. You started with a quote, life is not about marks, life is about making a mark. How will you make a mark if you have to get marks based on rote learning? So one has to allow that creative spirit to flourish. So the education system, you see, India is not a homogeneous country. It is said that India lives in many centuries at the same time. So the 17th century mindset is still there. And the 22nd century mindset has already come. So these are different people, different societies. Similarly, the education system is also differing. So there is still very basic education going on in parts of the country. And the children are not able to speak, they're not able to emote, they're not able to express. The teacher may not be teaching properly. So just as an example, and I'm not trying to be pompous, so one of my articles was published in the Maharashtra School Education Board Class 12 book. It became a textbook article. So it was published in the Times of India first. It was called the yawning divide. The yawning divide means there's a huge divide between, and it was about people who wake up early and people who wake up late. And it was a funny one, hilarious, yawning divide. They're yawning also. So the thing was that they picked it up and they published it in the paper, in the book. And they were teachers teaching that chapter on video. And I found it on YouTube during the lockdown. I had a lot of time. Let's see what's happening. And I find these teachers teaching my chapter. And I was holding my head as to their interpretation, what I had written. They were okay, but they were not great. And the children were learning from them. So I made a video on my own YouTube channel, which is my name, Vivek Atray, and I made a video teaching that chapter myself. So the differing levels of education are worrying, but I think we need to improve drastically. We need to have motivation for teachers. We need to have better teachers who are better paid and more incentivized in colleges and schools. I think a lot of work depends on the teachers.
That was very interesting. Sir, the first book that you launched was Move On Bunny in 2012, which was based on Bunny Kapoor, who's a dashing and confident person who wants to succeed in this big bad world. So how did you get into literature and what made you write this book?
So I used to write in my college. I was in NIT Kurukshetra, right? This is NIT, MNNIT Allahabad. And I was writing for each year. The Vulcan magazine used to come out. The college magazine was known as Vulcan. I wrote 4 articles in 4 years, once a year. So I became a writer of sorts. And my wife was in my college. She was a student of our college and she was 2 years my junior, and she used to like them and she used to tell me that you should write more. But then for 10 years after that, I didn't write. I got busy with my career and my work, and she used to tell me, why don't you write more? We got married. And then but then after about 10, 12 years in my career, I wrote my first article for the Tribune newspaper. Then later for the Indian Express, for the Times of India, they started publishing it for some reason. And then I became a habitual writer. Then one day I decided that these are articles which are dissipating into the thin air because the paper is gone. I need a book. So I started with Move On Bunny. And Move On Bunny was a simple episodical kind of book. I couldn't write a full-length book at that time because I was used to writing short articles. But I managed somehow. Then came Dubeji Bounces Back. And then came Finding Success Within, which is full-length and proper book. And then came It's Still a Wonderful Life, which is a collection of my articles in the newspapers. Random Forays is my column. You may be already aware. So the thing is that I now have that ability to write books. So I can write a couple more. Let's see.
Indeed, sir. So you've had an experience as an under-19 cricketer, and you also organized the All India JP Atray cricket tournament since 1992, demonstrating a clear passion for cricket. Yet, you also effectively managed to balance it with a successful civil services career. What advice would you like to give to the younger generation, which often finds it hard to balance between their passions and their career aspirations?
I think this is something close to my heart. So you must do what is close to your heart. It's in my father's memory. And he died young and I was very young. I was 24 when my uncle came. He says, your dad passed away. Let's do a tournament in his memory. And he was somebody who was mentoring cricketers at that time, Mr. Sushil Kapoor. So we started small, now it's become huge, and almost all of India's cricketers have played in it, except for 5 or 6, including Tendulkar, Kumble, they couldn't play. All others have played. Rohit has played, Dhoni has played, Yuvraj has played, Sehwag has played. So it's close to my heart. What is close to your heart, you will do. Even if you have to bunk office or classes for that. So I managed somehow, but I didn't let it affect my work. And this is once a year. So I do a dozen other things also, but I didn't let them affect my work. Writing also you have to do, right? You are busy as Deputy Commissioner. Although I must admit I didn't write a book while I was Deputy Commissioner because I had no time. But when I was director of something where I had some time, I could write a book. So I think you have to take out time and you have to prioritize. And your time it's an excuse. Most people give excuses. I can't learn the guitar. I wanted to, but I couldn't. You jolly well should get down to it and do it on a Sunday and don't waste your time. Go for a wedding for 1 hour. Why do you go for 4 hours? Especially if it's not your close family. You just go and come back and write your book or learn your guitar or do your other things. That's my philosophy.
So we as youth will surely follow your advice.
Thank you. I have one more thing to add on Kriya Yoga. So Paramahansa Yogananda said, everything else can wait, but your search for God cannot wait. So we have to find one path of meditation or practice spirituality where you connect with the Lord, where you connect with your inner self. And it's a difficult path, but you have to find it. So I am very blessed to be on the Kriya Yoga path. And everyone, including young people, and I have a share these days which I've said about 100 times, but I'll still say it 101st time. Because it is relevant to what we're talking about. And that is, I don't have this share, it's come from WhatsApp, unknown. And so I credit Mark Zuckerberg for it, though he doesn't understand this share, because I don't know who wrote it. So it is, फितूर होता है हर दौर में जुदा जुदा, पहले खिलौने, फिर इश्क, फिर पैसा, फिर खुदा खुदा. So that means we wait for the end of life, we go through all these other stages before we think of meditation and God. Better to bring him in now. Even school kids should meditate. So college kids should definitely meditate.
So surely we'll try our best to
Yeah.
do this. So shall we move on to the conclusion of the interview?
Sure.
So what we conclude from the life of Mr. Vivek Atray is that one should never settle for anything less. Instead, manifest your dreams until they turn into reality. With this, it's a wrap of the interview. Thank you so much, sir, for coming here, giving your valuable time and addressing us. Really hope that you keep inspiring students like us.
Thank you, Nehal and Karina. You had a fantastic interview. You asked good questions very confidently. I have appeared for many interviews, but you were very good. Thank you.
Thank you so much.